President Biden penned a letter to Democrats on Capitol Hill today, saying that he's fully dedicated to staying in the race. Now, this comes after a meeting with Democratic governors last week. Joining us now to talk story about that and the issues back at home is our governor, Josh Green. Aloha and good morning, Governor Green. Thank you so much for stopping by with us.
Aloha, Sam. Thank you.
What are your takeaways from that meeting that you had with President Biden?
Pretty extraordinary meeting. It was my responsibility as the doctor amongst governors to ask him how he was doing, how he's feeling, because he wasn't the president we're accustomed to in the debate. He didn't do well that day, he acknowledges, but he was doing fine when he was speaking to us. He is an elderly gentleman, so is the former president. There are going to be days like this. Everyone is on his case, of course, across the country because they're worried. A lot of people are worried about the potential impact of having Donald Trump come back and be president. So that's why you're seeing all this turmoil at the congressional level. But with us as governors, he was very good.
Any concern about his fitness for office moving forward, being that he is 81 years old, that by the time, if he won this election, he would be 86 by the time he left office. You know the rigors of what going through this is like, being governor. Any concerns about fitness for office?
Look, I have concerns about fitness for everybody, whether it's President Biden or former President Trump or anyone. It is an incredible load of work, and he gets up very early and goes very late. Of course, we have that concern about the president, but it's up to him. Ultimately, it's up to him and his inner circle, especially the First Lady, Jill Biden, who is terrific, to make the determination whether or not they're ready to take on Mr. Trump and win or not. Because, at least for me and the people that I spend time with, his values have been good. His commitment to Hawaii has been extraordinary. The Biden-Harris ticket helped us through the Maui wildfire. They have been extraordinary partners. And so, you know, everyone wonders, will he or won't he run for president? Will he accept the nomination, which he earned? That has got to be up to him. Again, I remind people he has been good to Hawaii, and that's what I value.
Back here at home, you are anticipating to sign legislation today that would outlaw the purchase of ammunition for those that are under the age of 21. What do you think that this will do for public safety?
Just a few less gun deaths, frankly. We have to constantly be mindful that this is a public health concern. I recognize hunters needs to have guns. I recognize people's First Amendment rights, of course. I recommend, as for the freedom of speech with the president, I recognize all of our freedoms, including people's right to bear arms. However, we have to be real about things, and we don't want semi-automatic weapons on the street. We don't want too much ammunition on the street, which is what we're talking about today. Hawaii's been the safest state as far as gun violence goes. That's why I've actually instructed my team to do gun buybacks also and bring ammunition back. I just don't want to see some of the tragedies that we saw like last year, where this beautiful young 19-year-old took a bullet randomly because there was violence around her. So we're constantly trying to incrementally make things safer.
Now, you reminded me that today is the 11th anniversary of the Lahaina wildfires. The ATF causation report is in the hands of Maui County right now. We're anticipating that being released at some time. Are you concerned at all about redactions, about the transparency to the public with that?
No, because I asked the Attorney General's team to completely investigate matters and to be smart about it for the purposes of being safer. Redactions are sometimes meant to make sure everything is fair legally. We're involved in a whole lot of lawsuits, which I'm hoping my team and I will be able to settle for the good of our community on Maui so that they can move on with their lives quickly. But sometimes redactions are purposeful in that way. But I'll read everything, and as you know, I am very, very transparent about what we're dealing with in our state. So it's important that we have these reports. The mayor's doing his reports also. There are independent reports. We need to move forward and do good things, which you've been seeing. You know, we signed major legislation last week to now have a fire marshal. We've been doing fire breaks like crazy with the Department of Transportation and Ed Sniffin's team. We put in all kind of new weather sensors to make sure that if we have red flag warnings, things will be safer. ECO is now going to have this shutdown process in case there's red flag warnings and they're worried about poles going down. I mean, there's just so much going on so that we never see another tragedy like we had before. This is just part of that, and that's the way I view these reports. I don't think we're trying to attack anyone. We're trying to make sure we're safer, and by being safer, we'll be able to care for our people. By being safer, we'll be able to get insurance for our state, which is getting scary expensive. So all of these things are kind of, on my mind right now, and I hope that things are much better going forward. But it has been 11 months, The last of the families that were in hotels have now been moved out into long-term housing, with just a very small number that the feds are still trying to help, but all the state responsibilities moved into long-term housing. Over 90% of the debris has been cleared. We're going to restore the cultural corridor, Moku'ula. We're even talking abstractly right now about having a museum to honor old Lahaina, the history of Lahaina. So very special things are happening, but we have 3 to 5 years ahead of us to build housing to recover, and we'll just do it day in and day out.
Yes, that housing's so important. You mentioned Hawaiian Electric. We did have the Chinatown outages that impacted a lot of businesses as well as local residents. We looked into 2023. 9 of 10 claims to HECO were unpaid last year. Now, there's numerous reasons for that, of course. But when you look at the PUC is looking into the wheeling process, which is allowing different power operators to kind of go through that. Do you think that would be good to create a competitive market here for electricity?
You know, that is something they have to decide. One of the big discussions right now is how do we settle these cases? Will HECO be strong enough coming out of whatever settlements occur to do what they need to do, which is to meet our renewable energy needs, to make sure that they have extra kind of infrastructure in the urban core so that we don't have these kind of power failures. They have to make that determination, and then once we see the dust settle on the tragedy, whether or not they're strong enough. And I think that they are doing all that they can to move us forward. But look, the power outages were disconcerting and not fair to local businesses. People should be made whole when that happens. And the same can be said of any of our western-facing kind of communities where we've had extra fires, Waikoloa, west Oahu, of course, West Maui. Mm-hmm. There's going to have to be a lot of extra investment for safety purposes. So the finances of the energy company are important. It's another thing that weighs on my mind.
You talk about finances of an energy corporation. You look at big picture, you're the governor of an entire state. We have the KIUC, the cooperative on Kauai. The rates are lower right now. They weren't always, but they are lower now. Do you feel like as we move forward into the future, a cooperative would make sense for the whole state, being that the profits and the revenue ideally goes back to the customers versus Hawaiian Electric, right? It goes to shareholders.
That is definitely one of the viable alternatives. Some people talk about doing collectives for the neighbor island companies where it's a little bit more doable, and Kauai has done extraordinary work. Mm-hmm. Special credit to Senate President and that whole cooperative, because they've been fighting for that for years. It is possible. It's possible that Big Island and Maui might ultimately move that direction. Again, it's a larger discussion where we'll need many months to decide what the best way to invest in our energy is. I can tell you, if we want to get to fully renewable by 2045 and we kind of want to begin to decrease our carbon footprint, it's very difficult to do it in small bites. We're going to have a long-term strategic energy plan. I've asked our energy team to give me a plan that decreases carbon and decreases cost, and whether or not we need some fuel in the middle to be a bridge. And that fuel should be renewable, or it should at least get us to hydrogen. That's why we're having an open discussion about things, not just like solar and wind, but LNG and others. Our long-term commitment has to be fully renewable, and that would be one way to do it, but I don't want to agitate. I want to make sure we have a real plan.
You talk about carbon footprint. I don't know if you saw the record high in Las Vegas yesterday, 120 degrees, 4 degrees above their previous all-time record high. So yes, the carbon footprint, of course, very important.
Yeah, so we're going to make sure that that's one of our priorities and that we lead on it. Hawaii has a better chance to get to fully renewable than any other state. So kudos to everyone who's been fighting that fight for so long. And we want to do it for our kids. That's why we signed off on the Navahine settlement. They were wonderful. That is the young people that sued Governor Ige, and then I settled it with our team. We want to make sure we honor their work, their commitment to decreasing our carbon footprint and dealing with global warming for the next 100 years. So we loved what they did. That's why we settled. We're using that to help with our energy policies from the transportation side, which is, of course, a big energy user, all the cars and flights and so on. So a lot going on. This week, you'll see me being quite conservative economically. I will probably pull back on a little bit of our spending to make sure we have resources going forward to do all of these key projects and to finalize the recovery on Maui. But I want to reassure people, the legislature and I did what we could to weather the storm of some pretty big challenges.
Yeah, very important topic. Thank you so much, Governor Green, for joining us this morning and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.